Okay, just as promised, we are back, and our topic of conversation is SMEs empowerment. And joining me for this is one Maureen Amakabane, and she is from the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Tony Elumelu Foundation Alumni Hub Lead Kenya. Welcome to the program, Maureen.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Nice to have me. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get to first understand what the foundation is all about.
So the Tony Elumelu Foundation is a program that was founded by Tony Elumelu and his wife, Dr. Elumelu, and they are Nigerian philanthropists.
Yeah.
So these are two individuals who built their fortune in Africa. So they came from seeing opportunities that existed in Africa, and as business people who run very successful businesses in Africa, they opted to put a section of their family money aside to empower 10,000 entrepreneurs every year for 10 years. And how the empowerment looked like was to support us in activating our dreams, and beside activating our dreams, planting a seed in terms of money, so $5,000 capital as a seed grant that goes into bringing your vision or your dream alive as a Kenyan entrepreneur and also as an African entrepreneur. Yes.
So how far in now, said for the next 10 years, so how far in is the foundation now? And maybe if you can just speak about the impact in entrepreneurship, the impact it has had in Africa's entrepreneurship.
So they already clicked the 10-year mark because the program started in 2015 and they ran up to 2025. But then, of course, they moved on forward because of the impact that the program had across the 54 countries in the region. So in terms of numbers, if you look at Africa, so they've been able to plant seed for up to over 24,000 entrepreneurs across Africa, and we bring it home in Kenya. So far, Kenya is among the top 5 beneficiaries of the training and also the grant. And in Kenya, so far, there's 1,292 entrepreneurs who've received the seed capital. And if you do it in terms of numbers, that's around $6.4 million that has been put into this economy to support small and micro entrepreneurs. So the program targets any business that's between 0 to 3 years. So we have the number of entrepreneurs that I've given you in Kenya. Last year we had 235 beneficiaries from the program. So that's bringing the numbers and the impact up to home. Yes.
Yeah. And actually, now that you've mentioned the number 235 entrepreneurs were from Kenya, this was among the biggest number, across Africa. It was the second most, like in terms of the numbers or the number of entrepreneurs in every country. Kenya had the most,
The second most.
The second most, Just maybe what exactly does this mean for the country's business landscape?
So I think for the country's business landscape, we've already given you the numbers. So that means in this economy, there's 235 ambitious entrepreneurs who are able to receive $1.17 million. So that money is already circulating in this economy. And how the program is structured, we anchor our values around creating employment. So you'll find that this entrepreneur who receives this seed capital will build a business and create employment. So there's also a complete value chain around creation of employment that happens. And also, this entrepreneur has been taught how to run a business. So assuming next year they want to start another business, because I'll tell you for a fact, I have not met an entrepreneur who runs a single business. We are always in the lookout for opportunities that come in. So the fact that now the entrepreneur has business skills and understands how to run an efficient business, I believe that knowledge is a lifetime. That's a lifetime investment. Yeah,
and from the 235 maybe that was selected from Kenya, the previous cohort, maybe what sectors were they in? What sectors were they majoring in mainly?
So the foundation has 3 main programs. So there's the flagship program that targets every person who's above 18 to whichever age. And then, of course, there is the big green, which is very specific to waste management and youth. That's a youth program who are in waste management. And then there's We4A. So the We4A program targets women. So you'll find that in the flagship program, it will be a blend. So it will be any person who has an idea or is running a business that is 0 to 3 years. And then now the specific programs, the Big Green and the We4A, will target women. And then the Big Green will target youth in waste management. So by default, you'll find that maybe there'll be slightly more women. And then, of course, there'll be entrepreneurs who are mostly into waste management. Because the number will go up in these particular segments, because then there's specific programs after the flagship program. But in the flagship program, it's any enterprise. It could be service-oriented. It could be waste management. Like my first business that was funded was in waste management. I know people who are in fashion. I know people who are in logistics. I know people who are in transport. I know people who are in entertainment. So it cuts across any business that an entrepreneur would be thinking or ideating around.
Yeah. So how does the selection happen?
Every year, 1st of January, the portal opens, and the portal is online. So www.tefconnect.com. They'll put up the application, and you apply. But now what we do, countries have specific drives. So in partnership with UBA, we always drive this recruitment drives. Of course, that informs how the numbers are up in Kenya. We're very intentional. As an alumni hub and in partnership with UBA Bank, we are always going across the 47 counties to ensure that entrepreneurs are doing the application, because of course it's a game of numbers. So we have more Kenyans applying, and then your application will be vetted, and then you'll be put into the program based on how you present your application in line with the values or the pillars of the foundation. So for example, it is open for private enterprises as opposed to NGOs. And then you'll be, some of the things that the foundation will be looking at while selecting or looking at the criteria is, you have an idea, but are you looking to create employment? Are you looking to generate income? Where are you now? And how do you see your vision in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? So that really helps. Your vision, your immediate vision, midterm vision, and long-term vision really helps you in putting up a very strong application. So pretty much, as an entrepreneur, while you're typing your application, you need to think of the future, the futuristic, and then align your vision in terms of how do you dream about your vision in terms of profit? Are you dreaming your vision in terms of creating employment? So that's what pretty much they'll be looking at. Yeah.
Does every selected person who joins the program get to be given the grant?
No.
Okay.
So the program has also evolved. So in 2017, when I did the program, they would pre-select the 1,000 entrepreneurs, and every person who's been pre-selected will go through the training and then submit our applications, our business plans. The outcome of the training is a business plan to a team of experts, consultants, who actually literally go through and comb through the program. I mean, comb through your application or your business plan and give you feedback, and then eventually you'll be seeded. Now, how the program has evolved is you go through the program, you get the training. So if you're pre-selected, everybody gets trained. So of course, if I give you the numbers of training, that's slightly higher. So you'll find there'll be a difference between the numbers that were trained and the numbers that received the seed capital. And then at the tail end of the program, you pitch. You go and you pitch your business idea, and the judges will be looking at the things that I've mentioned. Are you visionary? Does it make sense? Is your business scalable? Is it profitable in the near future? So those are the things I'd be looking at. So not everybody who goes through the training receives a seed capital. So training helps you polish up and then put up a solid business plan, and then you pitch in front of judges. Yes.
So from the pitch is where now they get to
select who gets the 5,000 seed capital.
The grant.
But the good news is you can reapply next year. So next year, I know people who have been, who've gotten the grant after on the second or third application, which is good news, because then it means they went and put what they learned into practice, and then they come back. So it's not doom when you don't get into the first time. You can always apply the next year and the next year, because now the program is ongoing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're an alumni. You
Yes.
were part of it in the year 2017.
Yes, I was.
What was your business?
So in 2017, I was running a sanitation business. So basically this is Usafi sanitation. So our vision is to build toilets for schools. You do know that we have a huge problem of toilets in public schools and also now in private schools. So our goal is to take green toilets in schools to replace the traditional pit latrine that we use. So this is a self-composting unit that allows for the waste to self-compost. So of course there's sanitation and safety is guaranteed within that toilet. So that's the business I applied with in 2017. Yes.
Are you still in the same business?
Yes, so the business is, so it's a yes and a no. So it's an extremely capital intensive business. So the business idea is parked somewhere because I do need a huge amount of money to put it back. But I'm happy to say that the foundation was, the money that I received from the foundation helped me do my first, setup. So there's a school we actually partnered with, and the toilets are in this particular school. Yes.
Do you feel like in Kenya people know about this foundation? Do you feel like it's the information is out there? Because it's a really good opportunity for every business owner to just jump in. Someone who's having a startup and probably they don't have capital, or probably they just love to learn the nitty-gritties of how to run a business. Is the information out there enough?
It is a yes and a no. So in the larger scheme of things, I would say no. But if you look at the micro pockets, I would say yes. So no, because we have 47 counties and we understand the information and access challenges. So you'll find that if you go into the grassroots areas, you may find that some counties, it's not a huge population that we know of. But in Nairobi and in the peri-urban areas, I would say yes, because these days it's becoming more of a household name in terms of, I know people who've benefited and people know people who've benefited. So if you look at that particular point, it's yes, but there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of ensuring that this information gets to the grassroots. And the good news is, like we said, everything is done digitally. So it would be nice if my kin in the village, in fact I like using this example, it would be nice if the young person in my village, when they finish Form 4 and they have this business, because when I go to the village, I still see a lot of businesses happening in that level. So it would be very interesting to see if in the next 5 years or 10 years, the people in the village will be benefiting from this initiative. The Gen Zs.
The Gen Zs.
Yes.
Now, you're from the Alumni Hub. You're the Alumni Hub lead, right?
Yes.
From Kenya. If you can just talk to me about the Alumni Hub. What exactly does it entail? What is it all about?
I had mentioned earlier, the foundation is anchored on pillars. So one of the pillars is networking. So there's of course the training, there's the seed capital, and then there's the element of networking. So networking is where you do know that entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. I don't know if you do you run a business, by the way?
I do.
You do. You have a business.
Yes.
And entrepreneurship can be one of the most loneliest journeys, especially in this side of the Sahara. And so what happens is after each individual has received their seed capital, they plug into the regional hub or the regional alumni hub. So this is where engagements continue to happen, conversations continue to happen in terms of country specific and then of course region specific. So the foundation continues to give us support, training, capacity building, and other linkages to capital and resources that we may need. So that's how the hub looks like. Like in Kenya, our hub is very vibrant. We meet and we also have events that we run on an annual basis, and we check in on each other, when things are not doing well. And then we also continue to trade. In fact, I like giving this example. Sometimes we go looking for markets out of that network. So that also becomes a marketplace on its own. And you have the opportunity to trade. Like, for example, yesterday, There's an entrepreneur in Kenya who's doing something in Namibia. I went to the Namibia Hub Lib and I said, hey, can I have the Hub Lib for Namibia? And I connected them. So facilitation, that kind of organic growth happens very easily across the region. So if I go to Uganda, I know I have a sister in Uganda. The Hub Lib in Uganda is a lady that I know. So I know I can go to Uganda and I'll be at home. I can go to Nigeria, I can go to Tanzania, whichever part of the world. At least I know I have an anchor person or somebody I can meet.
Yeah. And it's across different countries.
It's across different countries. So each country has their own. 54 countries have their own alumni hub. So I like to say that if you're looking to ever speak to entrepreneurs in Africa, the first place you need to go is the Elumelu Foundation. They will have access to a hub lead, and the hub lead will have access to entrepreneurs. Yes.
All right. So where does the training happen? You know, once you've been selected, is it something that happens online? Is it something that happens at the hub? Where exactly does it happen? Do you need to go to a particular country where all of you get trained over there?
The main training happens online. Everything is digital, right from 2015. So the application is done online, the selection is done online, the shortlisting is done online, and then the training is delivered online. So there's a portal, the same portal that you register in. Once you register in and you have an account, you'll have a private interface. So it's like a class. So that's where you're going to be accessing your weekly resources, daily resources, and then you learn online. Before COVID, we used to go to Nigeria. So after the training, we would go to Nigeria for a gathering. So all entrepreneurs will go to Nigeria for a gathering. I was fortunate enough to go. So where we ran a whole week boot camp, where now we get to interact, get to network, and get to really meet other investors in the ecosystem. So it's a very brilliant and amazing event. So before COVID, we used to go physically. After COVID, not yet, but hopefully that event will come back soon. Yes.
Okay, could you share with us a success story of a past beneficiary? Of course, there's you who's here.
Yes.
But if you can speak about another success story of one of the beneficiaries.
I'll speak about my friend Linda. So let me tell you a story. So when we were to go to Nigeria, I'm very ambitious. One of the things about entrepreneurs were risk takers. So I took a risk and I wrote a letter to the Ministry of Youth. At the time I was youth, I'm no longer youth. So I wrote a letter to the Ministry of Youth and I told the Ministry of Youth, hey, this program, and there's that time we were, I think, 73 entrepreneurs from Kenya. There's 73 entrepreneurs from Kenya who've been selected to go to Nigeria, travel to Nigeria and receive our award and be part of this experience. And he said, could you give us tickets? Could you fund us tickets? And the CS or the CS at the time said, we can't give you 74 tickets, but we can give you 10 tickets. So 10 Kenyans were flown courtesy of the ministry to Nigeria. And I met an amazing lady called Linda. So Linda runs a brand called Favoloso by Nanu. She's in the fashion space. Before the program, Linda had just come out of it. She was starting her business and she was operating from home and running around town, taking orders, doing fittings and everything. And after the program, she was able to set up an office, and now she runs a fully fledged office. She has a place where she does her production. She's employed many people, and I know now she's in the place of expanding. She's actually getting a bigger space. So that is an amazing success story. Very organic, but the little things that would give an entrepreneur a headache. Like, do I have an office? Can I sustain rent? Can I do this? So that's another example. There's a guy called Dennis Mutoro, who runs a logistics company, and he's grown rapidly. So when we did the program with him in 2017, Dennis Mutoro was running a logistic company, and then of course now he's expanded. And recently he came from doing a huge project in Nigeria, courtesy of just now being very affirmed in the enterprise space. Yes.
Yeah, and that's amazing to know. Now, I mean, as you've mentioned, entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship is quite a task. It can be a lot. Maybe what are some of the challenges you'd say African entrepreneurs face, or let's narrow it down to Kenyan entrepreneurs, and how well can we address those challenges?
I usually look at the challenges from two perspectives. The outright visible challenges. So the fact that you're building in a space or in very hard economic times, for example. So you'll find entrepreneurs, number one, have access to even just basic capital. You have this idea, but getting this idea out of your heart and actually putting money in it, that is a challenge. That is a challenge that continues to persist. Then there is the ones who start with whatever they have. They continue being in that circle, or being put in that circle, or that area of operation, because there's lack of capital to access to scale your business. And I've given you an example of my own business. I have a brilliant business idea. It was pre-funded by the foundation, but then I need money to scale it up, to scale it. So it's valid, it's proven, it's tested. But if I walk into any commercial bank, I look at the banking rates, I look at the interest rates, it doesn't make business sense. So that's the cost of money is also very expensive in this country. And we don't have alternative instruments. When I interact with my peers from other continents, you'll find that government is very supportive. Like if you want to set up an organization, if you want to run an enterprise, you're going to get tax breaks, government is going to fund you, and not micro money. So they have pockets of money. Like in Kenya, we do have funds for businesses, but these funds are either, it only targets the small, you at a certain level. But once you're in the level to fly, then you don't have access to funds to scale. So I've talked about starting capital and then scaling capital, and then affordability. And then in Kenya, which is an emerging trend, you're not paid. You'll deliver a contract and you get paid. That is becoming a thorn in the flesh. It is becoming a thorn in the flesh, because I've seen amazing business people, especially in the current times, shutting down simply because they did a job and they didn't get paid. And the defaulters is private sector, it is government, it is religious institutions. So that is also now becoming a thorn in the flesh. So those are the visible barriers. The invisible barriers, we come from an education system that was preparing laborers. So when you tell, absolutely, so it was 844, so many vijana, misha kusoma utapata kazi mzuri. Then the jobs didn't come by. Then there's this person who now starts a business to survive. But then every day you're reminded that you're jobless. Every day, the environment around you is constantly telling you you're potentially a failure because you're not in a white collar job. So those are the invisible barriers. And then it plants a seed of doubt, it plants a seed of many other things. And then also, who taught us how to run business? The first time I left, when I left formal employment and I went into business, I lost all my money within the first year of running business. All of it, because nobody had ever taught me how to run business. So I had gone into business with an employment mindset. I'm an amazing salesperson, and that's what I was doing in the business. I sold, I did everything, but then I didn't understand the other components that put into the business. So when I went through the program, I was able to know the business from a holistic perspective. So how has that helped me? I know how to transact with businesses. I look at my contracts diligently. If need be, I loop in a lawyer, and their contracts I work out of very early in the day, and I'm able to make certain decisions in a better way. So now I can confidently say that I know how to run a business, because that's another challenge. We don't know how to run a business because who taught us?
That's very true.
Yes.
Even for, looking at the very early stages where you get to learn about business, if you take business studies in high school, still I don't think you are equipped enough. You're just taught the theory of it.
The theory of it. I'm a business major from a very prestigious business university, but when I look in hindsight, the things that I learned in business helped me go and work within businesses, and I was very successful in that space. But then when I came to run my own business, there are many other components and many other parts that need to be fueled for the business to move forward. So maybe just from your point of view, how well can we address, some of these challenges that you've talked about? Capital. My call to action is to ask, can we have more philanthropists investing in Africa? Because, I think you've seen the latest conversation on how global aid has just almost shut down African economies because we're highly dependent. So you can imagine the trickle effect in the small businesses. So I think the first thing is for us to reinvest. So for example, you can actually just decide, you can be putting a small kitty of 5,000 shillings every year to support a small business within your region. So I think it's for us to now start investing in ourselves, and to also look at other alternative sources of financing. Commercial banks will not. Commercial banks are here to make money, so it will be us interrogating and looking at other sources of.
I'll ask you to hold that. Staying with us. Now, before we took that break, you were just talking about some of the ways that we can be able to address the challenges that entrepreneurs face in the country.
So I think the challenge capital can be addressed if we have multiple sources of funding for people who have business ideas. And I was giving an example of replicating the philanthropy model. We do have Africans or Kenyans who've made it in the business area, so it could be replicating the philanthropy model. And also just looking at micro philanthropy, and I was giving an example of you saying that I'll dedicate a percentage of my income to supporting a small, an upcoming business person or the next business person that I've interacted with. That's an example. And then it's for us to also now start looking at financial institutions, the mainstream banking and mainstream financial services. Are they meeting the services, the needs of the entrepreneurs? Because like I said, capital interest is very, very high in this economy. So it would be looking at products that speak to enterprise in terms of accessibility and in terms of also affordability. And then Kenya also has grants coming into this country. We have a lot of money that comes into this region to speak to support small enterprises. But I keep saying there's a disconnect in that. So you'll find that, for example, many other grants, other than Elumelu Foundation, you'll find most of the other grants want to already meet businesses that are existing. So grants are coming into this country, but it's formal money targeting informal sector. So definitely there's a very big mismatch. And that gap now provides a whole chaos. So there's also then the need for us to start encouraging small businesses to formalize their businesses, such that when opportunities like grants come in, then you're better placed to apply for these opportunities. So I've talked about streamlining and supporting the financial side, but on the enterprise side, businesses now need to start getting formal. And in Kenya, we have the advantage of our registration process is seamless. It's fully digitized through eCitizen. So even as you're selling your mandazi, you're selling your chapati, just register it, even if it's Maureen Enterprises, so that when the grant for women comes, then I am ready. It finds me ready. Because the mismatch also is formal money is coming into the market to support small businesses, but these small businesses are not ready because they're informal.
Okay. And even just looking at what you've been talking about, just empowering, small businesses or businesses in general, could contribute hugely, to when it comes to job creation and the reduction of poverty in this country. Do you agree with that? I mean, it has a huge impact in driving the country's economy, right?
Yes, I agree with that, and I'll give you an example. So the second business that I run helps women build businesses. And when we start into the process of formalizing sometimes means also you putting records for your business. I've worked with businesses. There's a business that I once supported. It was actually a group of women who came together to buy and do these motorbikes, and they had this business idea. So then they bought the motorbikes and then they gave to other people to ride, but they had never kept records. So when I met them, they were feeling so frustrated because the motorbikes were parked somewhere. They didn't get income, they didn't get anything. So I went back and I said, how much money were you making from, before you disposed them off as assets, how much money were you making from this business? They had never documented. So when they actually sat down to document how much money they were making, they saw the business sense. And then they were able to go and revive the business, and then we together collaboratively put a system to run the business. I think now the business is thriving. And there are many other examples I can give you in terms of you just telling a business person, separate your money. And in this country, you are fortunate to have mobile money. So you can either do your separation through those apps, the solutions you have on your regular app, or you can even just have a till number, so that today my effort gave me 500 shillings. Tomorrow I want my effort to give me 1,000 shillings. So when you start even systemizing, then a lot of people start looking at business as a real income when you know how much money you're making and when you know the efforts are being rewarded. But if you're not documenting that, then you'll never know. Yeah.
If you can just talk maybe about, talk a bit on the importance of SMEs for our country's economy.
I will give you a very practical example. I run a business. The business that I run is called Nyayo Mam Sokos, and it is based in Nyayo Estate, which is a huge gated community. And because I work with businesses that come back to us and they tell us what you're doing, I do know, for example, I'll give an example during COVID, when a lot of people are out of employment. Women went back to their houses and cooked chapatis to deliver to homes. Women went back to the farms they bought in 2015 and planted tomatoes and onions and came back and sold these tomatoes and onions. So that's the first contribution. They drive the day-to-day. Your food on the table is powered by small businesses.
That's true.
A very small percentage of food on our table comes from the larger scale. That's powered by your mama mboga, that's powered by the lady who delivers, that's powered by your banana guy, your orange guy. We all have a guy that brings us food. So that's the first level. For me to get an efficiency around my business, I have a motorbike guy. Actually, I have 4 motorbike guys who ensure that as I'm hustling on my pads business, delivery is being done and all that. And then the ripple effect is felt. So I think the SMEs contribute a lot in terms of driving the economy, and we see it in the numbers. We know how much our mobile telephony companies make in terms of the revenue that's driven by that ecosystem. So the SMEs actually, I think, are the backbone of an economy. And that's what gets the money to move and exchange hands. If
you were to maybe be given the opportunity to make things right when it comes to SMEs in this country, what would you do? What's that one thing you would do?
The one thing that I would do, and I don't want to sound cliche, I would set up functional SME hubs like Silicon Valley. And I was giving you an example. My enterprise counterparts in a different continent that's not Africa, when they want to start a business, they will be supported end to end. I know that I'll finish high school, and if I want to go to university, I'll have an option of university. If I want to go to a TVET, I have an option of a TVET. But if I want to do a business, I know there's a district, there's business districts where I'll go to that district and I'm going to benefit. So if I was to do anything differently, I would have 47 business districts in this country across 47 counties. And this is the place where an entrepreneur will walk in, they'll find 24 hours electricity, they'll find 24 hours internet, they will find capital at less than 1 or 2 or 3% at the very most. And they will find a community and other business development services. So right from registration to legal services to learning how to run XYZ. So I'll set up districts, business districts across 47 counties that will speak and support entrepreneurs on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. As we almost come to a conclusion, maybe if you can talk to us about the long-term vision of the Tony Elumelu Foundation. What's the long-term vision?
So as a beneficiary and as somebody who interacts with the foundation on a day-to-day basis, I think the commitment to support entrepreneurs is vivid and it is very clear. So the long-term vision, I think, is for the foundation is to really ensure that more entrepreneurs are getting access to training and they're getting access to seed capital. And I've given you a very specific example. Like right now, there's the flagship program, which is ongoing. Past the 10-year mark, they're continuing on. So next year, anybody on this who's watching, please remember to go to the TEF Connect and access. And then there's the Big Green program in Kenya. The Big Green program will run for the next few years, and the WIFO program as well. So I think those are the opportunities, and that's the vision for the foundation. So it's to ensure that more and more people, Africans, and Kenyans are accessing training and accessing seed capital. Yeah.
All right, for everyone who's watching us right now and probably they didn't know about this foundation and the amazing job that they do in just trying to help startups and just help entrepreneurs know their ways through business, probably for the Kenyans, right? When is the next application? You've said next year, but when exactly? 1st of January.
1st of January to 31st of March.
1st of January to 31st of March.
Every year.
Every year, 1st of January to 31st of March.
And it's New Year's.
Yeah.
So if you want to remember, just remember New Year resolution, apply for the Tony Elumelu Foundation grant. Let that be your first New Year's resolution.
Are there specific things that one needs to have for, you know, as they are making the application?
Yes, yes. So if you want to put in, so luck plays a big role. Let's not underestimate the power of democracy and luck. So luck plays a big role. But like I said, when you're putting in your application, look at number one, your vision. So for example, you're selling these books or you're manufacturing pens and you're applying for the program so that you can be able to expand your production. So not only will you look at expand, attach numbers. So say I'm currently producing 10 pens and I want to go through the training so that I can be able to understand how I'll produce 100,000 pens. And then I will also want to know how will I produce 100,000 pens to distribute. I'm currently in Nairobi, but I want to spread in Kikuyu, Kiambu, Kirinyaga, going in that direction. So then how then will you work this application of yours, tell a story of how you will grow this production from a 10 pen production to 100,000 production across 47 counties in Nairobi and attach numbers.
So
don't be afraid,
possible.
and break it down. Don't be afraid to put in the numbers. Put your data points. So I'm doing 10. If I get $5,000, it will help me employ 10 other people. It will improve our capacity. It will move us from here to here. And then I'm going to have 47 distributors of these pens across Kenya. And each distributor will potentially employ 2 people. So you just paint that value chain. And sometimes distribution looks like I'll have 47 Duthi guys who will be taking these pens and taking them to schools or selling them in the local market. So it doesn't even have to be as technical, as complex as it is. It's the business model that works for you. And there's one of the businesses that some years back we supported in doing the application, and they were producing water, and they still run the business. But I think if you go in the western part of Kenya, it is the brand you'll find in all the hawkers have that brand. And that vision was powered by the foundation.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So do they also work with people with just business ideas? I've never been into any business. I'm just thinking of one. So mine is just an idea.
Yes. Yes. So it's 0 to 3 years. Ideas are also funded. So it will be you're sitting in the house, or you have this job that's not giving. Let me use Gen Z language. This job that's not giving. And you want to do something, and you have this idea. Yes, you can put in your application. And I do know very many people who had ideas, and they got into the program.
As long as when you're writing it or when you're putting in the application, you just write the nitty-gritties of...
Tell the story. Tell the story. Bring your vision to life. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to bring your vision to life.
Yeah. And it's eligible to everyone. So in case you're watching and you have a business idea, or you already have a business that is already ongoing, but you may need some help, you know, in terms of capital, or just just sharpening your skills, it's open. As she said, the applications for this year are already done, so you have to wait until next year, from January the 1st to March the 31st. I think it's
New Year's resolution.
That should be a New Year's resolution. I think it's a brilliant idea, and it's a good thing that Tony Elumelu, that name is just you know, it's a bit of a tongue twister to my tongue, but yeah, it's a good thing that he's doing, you know, in just trying to empower Africa. And it's a good thing if we can have more billionaires who are open to just, you know, be philanthropists and assist in one or another, and not just by giving you fish, but by showing you how to get this fish for yourself, you know. Probably just as we finish up, maybe what would be your message to young entrepreneurs who are watching today?
young entrepreneurs who are watching today, if you are in green business, look out for the Big Green program. If you're in waste management, look out for the green program. And don't be afraid to dream. And I like saying, done is better than perfect. So there will never be the perfect chance to start a business. Start, learn on the go, build the plane as it's flying.
Yeah, I love that. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Don't chase perfection. Just go ahead and do it.
And I say as an 844 student, we used to be, perfection is what we are aiming for. Will you get to the national school? So that's something that I'm really actively unlearned, and it's been very beneficial. So unlearn that, done is better than perfect.
Love it, love it. Your final remarks?
Final remarks, thank you very much for hosting us. And maybe I can just give a shout out to UBA, the bank that supports us and powers us in the program. So what I didn't mention is UBA really gives us a seamless platform for the entrepreneurs who maybe are not bankable, and they support us in our banking journey.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for shedding light on this very amazing foundation that most people didn't know about. I didn't know about it. Now I am in the know. I know that there's such a thing. I know that if I want to get into my business or to scale up, there's somewhere where I can, just try.
$5,000.
$5,000. That's around almost 600,000 Kenyan shillings.
The dollar is doing very well.
Yeah, so that's around plus, 600,000 Kenyan shillings that you can be given to boost your business, and not just the money bit of it. The learning, which is very important.
And the networking.
Which is very, very important. Just as you've put, most of us were not really taught how to do business. We just get into it and try and wing it and just try see how is this working. I find try another one, see if it's working or not. Anyway, thank you so much, Maureen, for joining us.
You're welcome.